It's a very simple process that ties in a lot of things, as she said, that I've worked in and looked at for many years now, because it it involves the spiritual realm, the scientific realm, the quantum realm, the energy realm, all different levels because of the way you interact with it. And I'll talk a little bit about how that process works. But most people they live a life with dreams and hopes, but never really spend enough time focused on them to see them actually manifested. You know, they might think about a great vacation time or a great family time or a great adventure time, but you know, those are fleeting thoughts, and then life takes over, and then things happen, and things get in the way. But what the design of this book is really to help you focus more specifically on those things on a long-term basis, on a consistent basis, and that triggers and interacts with a lot of things that we don't even really understand or you know, consciously be aware of. God designed the powerful realms around us, and as she was saying about science basically discovers what God has created. That, you know, that's my perspective on it anyway. And it's been that way for you know, since the beginning of time. You could look back to the Renaissance and between the 14th and 17th century, when the church finally, or when science finally separated from the church, and there was a division. And basically what the division was over was really not about God, it was more about the doctrine of the church. You know, the doctrine of the church didn't agree with science, and science didn't agree with the doctrine of the church, so they split. But people have always kind of segmented those to say, well, science and God are separate. But if God created all these things, science is just discovering them, you know, and just realizing what is here and what's available. So there really isn't the separation from that standpoint, and the understanding or being able to go in and not mix religion and science, but to look at the science as it is discovered, as things are discovered, and realize what God has created and how to use it, and how to integrate it into our lives, then, you know, that to me is the great wonder of it. When you think about the law of gravity, what do we really know, you know, really about the law of gravity, except if you drop something, it hits the ground, you know, or if you jump off something, you're going to hit the ground. So we interact with it all the time, and all these things that God created in the universe around us, we interact with and we operate almost unconsciously, but when we do it, when we understand it, we can be more focused on it and see how it really is supposed to be operated and how it really does come out. When you talk about the little angel book, like I said, it looks like a little activity book or something like that, but really it is energizing your dreams and your visions about what you want to see accomplished in your life. What do you want to have manifested into your life? And one of the most basic things that I can introduce, because like Regina said, I've been studying this for a long time, so there's a lot of information. And I've taught, you know, 8 and 10 hour classes on it. So but the most fundamental thing that I could think to represent here today is one we're all familiar with, called the reticular activating system. You know, that when your mind consciously focuses on something, then it says, okay, that's what you want to see, that's what you want to hear, that's what you want to be aware of, then I'll open it up to you. Because until then, it starts filtering it out. Like the first car I ever bought was a Volvo. I don't know if I'd ever seen a Volvo on the road before. So we bought this Volvo, and then I'm driving home, and every other car is a Volvo, you know, because your brain just opens up, says, you want to see Volvos? Well, here they are. So, and one time I was over in Switzerland years ago, and I was walking down the corridor in the airport, every language in the world being spoken, you know, all this chatter going on, and all of a sudden somebody speaks English over, you know, in the next corridor over, and I pick it up because my brain was scanning. Where's the English? Where's the English? Where's the English? He had heard it, and, you know, I could I probably could have recited the conversation to you at that time because it was so real. It was so active, and that's what our brain does. So if we tell ourselves, and by focusing on our little book, that activates that reticular activating system saying, this is what I'm interested in. So the brain then says, all right, you want to see all those things? I'll show you all the possibilities. I'll show you all the limitless possibilities of that category. So then as we go through life, we start seeing all those things. We start recognizing all those things. And all the other stuff is filtered out. All the things that say we can't have those things, or we don't have those things, or we'll never have those things, all that is filtered into the background. And what comes to the surface is, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I'd love to have realized in my life. So we're doing that every time we look at that book. You know, you open it up every morning and you go through it and you see the pictures and you see the sayings and you see the activities that are in there and you think, this is really the life I want to live. This is really the life I want to have. And it really does trigger so many things on so many different levels and so many different realms that it's fascinating to see it really come into manifestation. So it's and when you talk about the concept of even the angels, you know, in the 4,000 years of the scriptures up till the birth of Christ, there's I think there's 102 references, 108 references in those 4,000 years. From the time of Christ for the next 70 years till the end of the New Testament, there's 102 references of how we interact with spiritual beings, how we interact with that realm, that spiritual realm, whether we're conscious of it or not conscious of it, you know. And so it really is a fantastic concept to think that there's energy and there's available to have power and manifestation in realms all around us as long as we connect mentally with that and start, you know, operating in that realm. So it's a massive field. The energy / spiritual field is fascinating, and like she said, I've spent 50 years looking at the scriptures, and the last 30 years looking at this energy field and all that's in the quantum realm, and it's just inexhaustible. You know, it is so deep and so fabulous in what's available, and this is just an entry level, you know, participation in that really shows up in fabulous ways. I mean, you know, things start manifesting in your life, and life starts molding around you according to the concepts that you've focused on and that you've set your heart on. So that's kind of the background of what is behind it. So it's much more than just a little book. It's a powerful entry into a whole new phase of life. So that's some of the things she wanted me to introduce here this